Solana family, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. Let's waste no more time and take a look at what's happening with Solana's price as of November 18th and what we could be expecting as we are going further into the week. You're looking at the price of Solana up 7.3%. But again, if you're looking across the board right now, we did see quite a nice bounce across the board, as you can see for yourself. But again, let's not forget what has been happening with the space. Continuous reminder, take a look at it on a weekly time frame, take a look at it on a monthly time frame. These numbers are something we don't want to be overlooking. But the price of Solana right now, as we're recording this update, $141.19, up 7% almost in USD, and up about 6% on the Bitcoin side of things. Valuation 77.7 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at $7.6 billion. As always, just a quick disclaimer, anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So Sol right now has seen a rebound, but it was quite a big day for Solana today, aside from, the market push towards the upside because Fidelity, spot ETF for Solana, one of the biggest asset managers across, the financial world, launched your own Solana spot ETF. And that itself was quite a big day, in my opinion. And you can see for yourself, the list just continues to grow. The institutional world agrees Solana is next, according to Solana's post. You can see Bitwise, Grayscale, VanEck, Fidelity, and Canary Capital. So there's about 5 ETFs right there. So moving forward, take a look at this. 21 shares now also coming on board, has filed its prospectus with the SEC for a Solana spot ETF, which is expected to launch tomorrow. It will be the sixth Solana spot ETF launched in the US. The fee is set at 0.21%. So again, like I said, more and more of these ETF are being approved. And again, this was the timeline we were expecting. So in terms of a timeline perspective, the ETFs have been aligning, but in terms of the market conditions, it's just not what we want to see. But I would strongly suggest you guys to take some of your time out and watch the market analysis update I made today. I kind of went into detail with, quantitative easing and, what this could potentially mean. And, we talk about the potential of the super cycle, which a lot of people talk about. And again, how this market cycle is different. Again, Solana has been reacting in a positive way because let's face it, from 2022, we are in a bull market for the crypto space. And Solana definitely is one of the altcoins that reacted and one of the top gainers across, the board. But could this super cycle really extend? Because if it were to, the next wave I've highlighted, again, I'm going to touch that a little bit more in this update, but I would expect Bitcoin to retest in the next wave $140,000 to $150,000 price point. And I think the likes of Solana that has been positively correlated, XRP, Ethereum are going to correlate with that move as well. So that's something I want you guys to kind of keep in mind. But as far as inflows are concerned, 15 straight days of positive inflows for Solana ETF. Today alone, $8.2 million. But let's take a closer look and see what's really going on here. So as far as the Bitcoin dominance is concerned, obviously we know, we came down to 58.82%. We picked up a little bit, but you can see, we're finding ourselves below 59% once again. You can see there is some support around this key range. Breaking below here pretty much, takes us back down to where we were just a few hours ago. But with that said, let's just not ignore what's happening with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin right now has seen a 5% bounce over the last 24 hours. The last time we spoke, BTC was sitting at $89,000. So, the $89,000 target did get retested, but we did see a little bit of a bounce since then. But again, nothing to be getting overly excited about. Again, I think we are going to see this wave complete, and there is still a lot of weakness on the Bitcoin side of things. So right now we're still in the 0.50 fib zone, several retests below the 0.50, but ultimately I do believe, we are going to see Bitcoin breaking below once again. So with that said, let's take a look at Solana. So Solana reacted really nicely today, to this Bitcoin move. Again, like I said, Bitcoin bounced up about, 5%. And Sol actually had a nice bounce. But again, at this point, Solana retested that key support line for the first time, of course, since June, as mentioned yesterday to you guys. And, that is a key support line that you would expect to bounce because, again, time in, time out, the support line did come in our favor. And anyone that was able to, and again, specifically want to talk about swing traders, if anyone was able to get in around this key support line and had their buy orders filled in, you saw Sol go up 10%. So, quite a nice bounce from here. So pretty much in comparison to Bitcoin, you actually saw Solana double. Solana doubled in, the last 24 hours compared to Bitcoin in USD comparative. Because like I said, BTC went up 5%, Sol went up 10%. And I think that could be due to obviously the Fidelity ETF launching and so on and so forth. We're sitting at about $141.08. Still within the 61.8 fib zone. Again, this is not the first time we retested it. Let me just kind of take you guys back down memory lane. June 23rd was the time, and we saw Sol going up significantly, retested $254. Well, with that said, yes, we're seeing a little bit of a bounce right now. Again, that is due to Bitcoin. But again, zooming out and taking a look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin's nowhere near where it needs to be. And again, if Bitcoin pulls down, to the 61.8 and, pushes lower, that is going to have an impact on Sol. Of course, if BTC pushes up to $98,000 price point, I still do believe that would be a fake out because we've seen time and time out those types of fake outs happening. And I think, we're like ultimate goal for Bitcoin. I think bears is to take the price of Bitcoin down to these key levels. But the fact that, we have retested below these levels, I think we are getting down to this target. I'm very confident about that. But, like I said, sooner this happens, the better it is. And it's also going to give us a little bit of a better understanding as to what happens with the market. So yes, you might see Sol making its way back above 0.50 fib zone in the immediate term. Again, if you're in for a long-term perspective, then your dollar cost averaging in around here, because again, if you want to put this into perspective from an all-time high, you did see Sol go down about 56.7%. So that is quite a sharp retracement. And remember, there's a famous saying, be greedy while others are fearful, be fearful while others are greedy. The ones that are, picking up a Sol right now, of course, are, making their overall dollar cost average, lower than obviously it was prior. So from a long-term perspective, patience is your number one key to follow. But if you're a swing trader, if you're in it for short term, then you want to be very, very closely monitoring Bitcoin price and understanding. And I'm sure if you are a swing trader, you know how the market structure works. And when I talk about swing trading, I specifically talk about spot ETF. I'm sorry, not spot ETF, spot trading. And because you guys know I'm totally against leverage trading. But again, you could see for yourself, we are still seeing Sol holding quite well. I could see Sol going back into the 0.50 fib zone. But one thing I want you guys to kind of realize today, a big takeaway from here is looking at these big ETFs being approved. What does this show you? This shows you the interest that these institutions have in Sol. Hence, they're launching these products because, of course, these institutions know where the demand lies. So that is very interesting. And as far as, the native token Solana is concerned, it's no surprise because this is one of the best performing assets, like I said, in the crypto space over the last 12 months. Look at it for yourself. On October October of 2023, Sol was sitting at $18. This thing went up 1,500%. So about a 16x to anyone that was able to get in around here. And we accumulated here for a long time. Shout out to my viewers that have been with me since then. We were talking about Sol at that price point. So it has seen, its fair share of, a big move. But the question this time around is, whether or not we're going to see altcoins, reacting as sharply as, we have seen in the past, even if, the super cycle is going to happen. We need to understand that, we're already seeing that happening. Take a look at it for yourself. A lot of other altcoins, aside from Solana and, some of the big ones that have been, performing really good. BNB is one of them. Solana is one of them. XRP is one of them. There's a lot of coins out there on the market that had their time this bull market. But from its peak back at the beginning of this year, you did see Sol go down 67.6%. And from the last cycle, you can see for yourself, we saw a pullback of 96%. But what we need to kind of keep in mind is, the bottom, I would say, would have been around the $35 key range. You could see that would have been about an 86% pullback. But pretty much what I'm trying to get at is, due to the FTX situation, we did see this major retracement down to $8 per Sol. I think if that did not happen, we would have still been hovering around this $20 per coin. But again, this time around with institutions coming on board, are we going to see Sol not reacting that heavily? But again, you can make that statement here again. We did see Sol still see quite a sharp pullback even in this day and age. So I still think, Sol along with other altcoins could still end up seeing, pullbacks. And that's why I'm not still writing off some of these lower levels. But maybe we're not going to see as sharp of a retracement that we have seen in the past. Again, if you want to put that into perspective, let's just say we were to see something similar playing out, that would require Bitcoin to completely invalidate this upwards trajectory. That's what I want you guys to kind of take away from here. If Bitcoin invalidates this upwards trajectory, that would be obviously below the 78.6 fib zone. This cycle that we're in, pretty much you could kind of say since the low of December 2022, we've been obviously in this upwards trend for Bitcoin since then. This would entire structure would be invalidated if Bitcoin drops below the 0.50. But that itself is, I'm sorry, if it drops below the 78.6. So if that were to be the case, that would be very bearish in my opinion. And that's why we want to see Bitcoin retesting some of these levels, especially the wave that I'm specifically talking about, because the sooner it happens, the better. It gives us a little bit of a better understanding as to what's happening. But if you just want to know, compared to the last cycle, you could see, we retraced down, 96%. Like I said, due to FTX, we went up, down additional, we went down additional 8. That's actually insane. Like this is insane. Look at it for yourself. It was sitting at $40. We saw this major retracement. So let's just say, it comes down to the same, retracement, obviously excluding the FTX thing. We're looking at a retracement of 91%. So, from its all-time high, a 91% retracement. Let's just say, like, I don't think this is going to happen, to be quite frank with you, because of what kind of magnitude move this would be. But if you want to put that into perspective, that would be $27 Solana. It would be a $27 Sol, for it to replicate what it did from the previous cycle. So from, where we currently are, that would be an additional 27 would put it at 80% retracement from where we currently are. I just don't see that happening, to be honest. Unless, of course, BTC completely cancels this upwards trend. I just don't see that happening, and especially with this amount of demand that's coming in from the institution side of things. But again, if you've been in this crypto space for a while, you guys know crazy things can happen. So, again, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. A part of me would love to see prices like that, but I just don't see that happening in my opinion. I think that ship has sailed. But do let me know in the comments down below what you guys personally think. But again, the 78.6 fib zone, in my opinion, is a very realistic level to be still looking forward to, especially if Bitcoin does not hold around these levels and comes down to the 61.8 fib zone. I think depending on how Bitcoin dominance reacts, that is a level to be looking out for. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you later in Crypto ZX and peace.